Many of the rich and elite, both famous and infamous, own islands. Here's a few examples. This beautiful island here was owned by this guy here. This island here, Rothschild Island, was owned by this family, this guy. There's a really, really big island in the North Atlantic, and it's owned by this guy. Even popular culture caught on and has made fun of evil layers on islands, right? Like this one, owned by this guy. I'm not saying that this is the base of an evil layer, and there's absolutely no evidence that anything bad has ever happened on Masonic Island. Yes, the Freemasons own their own private island. Lake Metagoshi in North Dakota, about 1.5 miles south of the Canadian border, is a 7.2 acre island that has been owned by the Freemasons since the early 1900s. There's really not a whole lot of stuff out there about Masonic Island. What few pictures I can find, though, definitely show the stone altars, set up in a field so they can do their rituals there. Yep, something like this. Most interesting fact about Masonic Island is that it was the first place in the United States that didn't require a Canadian citizen to have a visa to enter the United States. Because the Canadian Prime Minister and the United States President, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, at the time, were both Freemasons. And they made an agreement that allowed Freemasons from Canada to cross over the border to the United States without any oversight or basically any kind of visas needed. So basically they could go to Masonic Island and no visa or immigration agent would ever know that they crossed over into Masonic Island. According to the website from the Grand Lodge in North Dakota, Masonic Island has been owned by the Freemasons since the early 1900s, and they have had numerous Masonic rituals on that island. Of course, there's no evidence whatsoever of any nefarious things happening on Masonic Island. And in this isolated island, only 1.5 miles away from an unpatrolled border of another country, is where they've done Masonic rituals now for over 100 years. So, there's nothing to worry about by the Masons owning an island. They're just a bunch of good guys sitting there doing their rituals in secret in a secluded, isolated island 1.5 miles away from an unguarded border that has been traditionally allowed Masons to pass back and forth without any visas or passports. There's been absolutely no proof that Masonic Island has had any nefarious activities whatsoever. Basically, it's just a bunch of good guys performing a ritual in secret that requires the ritualistic unaliving of a candidate and then raising him from that unalive state to become a Master Mason. Yeah, that's the Master Mason's ritual. How do I know about the ritual? Well, I was a Freemason for about a decade. So I've been that candidate, and I've also been the person who helped raise those candidates. So I've performed almost every step of that ritual. And it's happened for about over 100 years since they've owned the island. But once again, nothing to see here. This is just a bunch of good old guys doing good works for charity, right?